Food brings us together. We break bread as a family at the dinner table, and we gather with good friends and co-workers at food cart pods. We're united by our desire to eat and our shared cultures and traditions, and it's just fun. You know, great things are growing here in Hillsboro and our hometown values and agrarian roots. And so on this month's issue of Community Conversations, we are gathered with three people who are very well connected with our local food sources. I'm Steve Callaway, Hillsboro Mayor, and we're so glad that you're with us today, and I'm so glad that you all are with me as well. So we're going to talk about food and farmers markets in Hillsboro, which has been a long priority, and just something and a tradition. I mean, it is part of our fabric. And so to talk about it today, we have Hillsboro City Councilor Kipperlin Sinclair, who's the founder of Eat, Drink, Washington County and the Green Fork Initiative. We have Krista Olson-Roth, who is the president of the Hillsboro Farmers Market Board of Directors and the owner of Mountainside Herbal Nursery. And we have Mindy Crosado, the owner and baker of Downtown, Hillsboro's Decadent Creations and Collective Kitchen, and the 2015 of the reality show Chopped. So great to have all of you here. Thank you. And I'm just going to start off by asking, what does food and providing food to our community mean to you? We'll start with Kipperlin.
Good morning. Good to see you today, Mayor Callaway. For me, food means a big piece of my identity. Some of my earliest childhood memories are embedded in me through the traditions of our family recipes, my family's culture. Growing up in a Mexican-American household, the table in the kitchen was the heart of our home. And being raised by a single mother and very influenced by my grandmother, I learned early on that food is security, and when there's abundance of food in our home was filled with such celebratory vibes. And when we had to ration food, the priority of starting the day with a meal and ending the day with a meal was strained for my family. And so now, in the position I'm at, food is a huge priority. Knowing where our food comes from. In the city of Hillsboro, there's so many different food programs that our community can have access to serve them. It truly is one of those great parts of our community to provide food services.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Krista.
So for our family, I grew up on a farm, and we had hazelnuts and cherries and prunes. And so food was always a big, important part of our life. But when I became an adult, I wanted to make the decision to have people understand where their food came from, how to produce their own food, the value of that. And I think that's where our families really made this decision to be in farmers markets, to make sure that people understand of all the time and effort that goes into growing that food that they enjoy. So
Very good. Thanks. And Mindy.
I think food is just such a genuine form of our cultural expression. It's my love language. It's and not everyone has a strong food as a center of their family life. You know, many kids have two working parents and these types of things. Where I have 42 employees, many young people that work for me, and I'd say at least 75% of my staff don't come to me with previous kitchen experience. So. And I see the transformation of when people get to learn to make things with their hands and the importance that has in their life and what that means to them, and can change the trajectory of their life path even.
And that's an interesting thing, because normally when I think of food in our farmers markets, I'm not thinking of the empowerment, that comes from being a part of it. And I'm just thinking, what's in it for me and my plate? And so, yeah, great answers. Thank you so much. The history of Hillsboro includes the Oregon Nursery Company, Orenco, and then more recently, our farmers markets and food manufacturers, and a focus on local independent restaurants. So how is Hillsboro looked at as a place to eat, a place to buy fresh food, maybe within the region?
I think people, from a glance outside of Hillsboro area, can sometimes, see some big box stores and some strip malls and kind of think that that's all that there is, and not see that there's actual wonderful pockets of mom and pop places of people hand making things from scratch, and the farmers markets, and that we need to support that part of our community.
Yeah. It's interesting because we will go into Portland for a meal and we won't think it's too far. But if we're in Portland, we think it's way too far to come to Hillsboro. And the city just produced, Taste of Downtown, which has, literally a map, on both sides with all the names and restaurants. And and it shows you that there is, we are a destination for food and for entertainment, which comes along with that. And it is very important economically as well. And so, Krista, tell us, how are we looked at, besides restaurants, how are we looked at as a place for purchasing, fresh food?
I think that it's a growing and evolving area. It's so exciting that we are expanding into neighborhoods and bringing more people into downtown and letting people explore the different cultures that you can taste and raise and express your individuality, but it also is part of you. That food is part of Hillsboro, and how we are. I think it's a different view as a farmer, I think, than people that actually are here. We look at the experiences that people have with us as part of our family.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. And I think that. We are trying as a farmers market to encourage more and more diverse farmers to come into our area and enjoy the experience.
Yeah. Cultural representation in their food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned cultural representation of the food. Go ahead, speak some more.
No, like I said before, for me growing up, when we get specific dishes, it's a nostalgic thing that just takes you right back to a memory, and you identify with the foundation of who you are. And so I heard a while back that tell me what you grow and show me what you grow and I'll tell you where you live. So it's such a core factor in seasonality here in Washington County with our abundance of agricultural heritage. You really do get to see that as the climate changes, our diverse crops change. And now with our community changing along with that climate change, it's not good to have that climate change, but the upside in that change is that our farmers are able to now experiment with different crops and serve different communities. And that's pretty inspiring in those aspects of our food system.
So you mentioned a little bit of the evolution. And Krista, we're seeing that within our farmers markets as well as we look to start one in South Hillsboro.
Yes.
And tell us about that.
We're very excited. We are going to be opening a market on the second Wednesday of each month, 4 to 7 in the shoulder seasons, and 4 to 8 during the main part of the season. It's going to be in Breeze Crossing Park, and it's just a great experience for farmers and vendors of all kinds to get to know that population out there, because it's growing and it's very diverse, and just allowing people to experience that. We're really looking forward to the people walking and through the market and experiencing the market, and like you said, the sitting there afterwards and enjoying their time together. So it'll be an exciting change for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and Mindy, you talked before about how you got your start as a business owner with your passion, your creativity, as a young person in a farmer's market.
Yes. Yeah. The farmers markets, I think, are still one of the lowest barriers to entry ways to start a business in the community. I was 23 years old when I started Decadent Creations, my bakery. I borrowed my grandpa's pickup truck. I think I saved like $500 to get myself a canopy and a table, and bought myself the baseline insurance policy and registered my business name. And I used to rent kitchen space from a bar overnight that would let me in there for super cheap, and sometimes would have to like climb over drunk people past. It was in Portland, but it was this like great experience of meeting my customers like one at a time and building a client base, and that was how I got my start.
Yeah, and learning then what works, and you don't have to invest. And you can't invest because you don't have it at that age, for brick and mortar. And so this allows you to figure out what works, what can withstand the heat or the cool of the day. And it really lets you gain your experience without making mistakes that you can't come back from.
Young people have great ideas.
Yeah.
And when you're young like that, you don't have anything to lose.
Sure.
I have a commissary kitchen now where I have many people that I meet that are starting businesses and renting kitchen space from me. And I meet a lot of people that are taking out huge loans and taking huge risks, taking a second mortgage on their house to start their businesses. And that's really scary. But I had nothing to lose.
Yeah. Good. Well, and that's just a reminder, support those high schoolers, that are starting out, with some of their work, because they can grow into somebody amazing like you. Yeah. So, in South Hillsboro, where, on build out, it'll have about 20,000 people and a very diverse, population. And certainly as Oregon's most diverse large city, this will, enhance that. And so thinking of the new families that are moving in, and families, many of whom will not be from Hillsboro, to experience Hillsboro, to connect with each other, and then loving that once a month and having that translate into downtown visits, for the markets on Saturday and Sunday. It's just a great plan.
Yeah, it is, and it's such a great way for people just to get a little taste of what the real downtown or the Renko Farmers Market experience is, because those are such vibrant, such enjoyable places for people to congregate and hang out. So we're really looking forward to building that. And in South Hillsboro, with that idea of being so close to Aloha with the food desert, it gives people more access to foods that they wouldn't normally have. And to learn that Hillsboro is a place where you can come and get those kind of things that you're looking for. So
as you mentioned the different markets that we have, what's the vibe, from one to the other? Because, you've been there, as vendors, you've been there as consumers, and what's your takeaway for the vibe and the experience?
I think downtown is definitely a community gathering place. It's a place where you're going and you're gonna meet your neighbor and
running around.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna see their teacher meeting them
out of the retail shops. And
they're gonna meet grandma and grandpa down there, and then mom and dad can run around and do a few things while grandma and grandpa watch the kids. And it's great because they can learn and experience all these foods and cultures and all these things together. Renko is definitely a little different environment. It's people are knowledgeable of the foods that they want, and they are going to that specific market to get those foods, and they're going there to meet that vendor that has that one thing that they need to make dinner tonight. So it's definitely a little bit of a different, it's still got that community feel, but it's definitely more of the grocery idea.
Yeah, the community shows up with their best culinary hat on, ready to talk with their favorite farmers and seek out those unique items that they can only find through our seasonal produce and pasture-raised meats and unique gifts there at the market.
Yeah.
So how do the farmers markets and also the consumers, how does this support our local agriculture?
It brings in farmers from really close locally. I mean, we have farmers from North Plains and Gaston and that kind of stuff that are coming in. And it allows people to experience that local produce and things that without having to drive out into the country and, get lost and all the other things that happen out there. And it allows everybody to congregate in one space and get an experience that they wouldn't have otherwise, because you can get your berries from this farmer over here and go over here and get your steak for tomorrow, and then go over there and pick out a bouquet of flowers, and all that's right in one location instead of having to drive around from place to place, which is great.
Yeah. And the unique thing about the farmers markets now, with the market expanding, the Hillsboro farmers markets they not only make, now with the markets expanded, make produce available throughout every ward of Hillsboro, at the downtown Rinko Station and South Hillsboro at Reed's Crossing. That makes that access to food become increased. There's great programs along with our farmers markets, with our SNAP program, Double Up Food Bucks program, and the Veterans program. It allows the opportunity for equitable food system to rise up through to better feed our low-income families, and in return build up our local food economy in supporting our vendors at the markets through that market currency that's provided. Yeah.
And Mindy, at Collective Market, you locally source your produce, and in all of your cooking and baking, again, locally sourced ingredients. And so you are, again, making sure that we as the consumers are getting the very best ingredients and the freshest ingredients. And you mentioned, when we were visiting earlier, that when it's grown here, it hasn't been trucked in, from miles and miles away. And
the arugula actually tastes like arugula.
Yeah, I love that.
It's full, spicy, not this packaged, grown in another country that's been radiated and processed in a way that it will have the best shelf life for these big stores that need that. There's actual farmers like Aaron Nichols from Stoneboat Farm, that they're truly picking the best varietals that taste the best and are the most nutritious.
Yes.
Like our amazing Hood strawberries that many people come to the market just for those strawberries. They're so juicy. They're only going to last a couple days in your fridge. So it's like a really special, unique moment that we only have in this area.
When we moved here years and years ago, and we would come down, and I remember the first time I saw a long line. The market hadn't opened, but people were in line to get their strawberries, to get their blackberries, to get the Hermanson watermelons, and to see people when they bring in the trucks of fresh corn that had been cut that morning. I mean,
so
the farmers
sweet.
they're getting up at 4 a.m. to harvest corn that we will be able to have by literally in hours from the stalk, and
when
it just doesn't get fresher.
To me, I don't like tomatoes, I don't like corn. When people say that they don't like these things, I'm like, you haven't had ours. You haven't had ours that is actually grown here in the Hillsboro area.
So one of the things that's great is that the farmers market allows those individuals with Oregon Trail or other federally supported or state supported, food programs, the ability to get fresh, healthy produce. And Krista, could you talk about that?
So we, at our market, you can just bring your Oregon Trail card down to the information booth and purchase. We have tokens that you can purchase, and then they will be matched up to $20, which doubles your food budget right there. I mean, it allows you so much more access fruits and vegetables and even plant starts, those kind of things that you can grow food for your family that you wouldn't necessarily. I mean, who doesn't love eating cherry tomatoes right off the bush, right? I mean, that's such an experience that, especially for kids, it's life changing. It really is. And to be able to for the vendor or for the market to provide that access to people is great. We also have the Veterans Match, and they can come and with their service ID and get a match. And that allows us to acknowledge the service that people provided for our country, and allows them to shop with our market vendors, all kinds of market vendors. Those are great tokens.
Culinary treats.
Well, and sometimes low-income individuals live in areas where there are food deserts.
That's right.
But our markets provide a food oasis that is so fresh, and so healthy, and
so diverse. And such a different. I mean, you can see it in the markets that they're slowly evolving to include more products, myself included, that are specifically targeted to very diverse populations.
Yeah.
So
well, and you mentioned buying the vegetable and fruit starts, and I mean, we do that every year. Then I come back and buy my fresh produce because I don't have a great thumb. But it is so fun to have those shared experiences that start here, and then maybe it continues with food on your plate, but it could also continue with food growing in your garden. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, okay, so Mindy, Decadent Creations, downtown staple, highly regarded, but not everybody knows how you got it started. And you touched on, your beginning, but then, moving into a brick and mortar and, and then, with the collective market, the classes that you teach. I mean, how did all of these things, how do you have the time? How do all of these things come together? And again, like we talked about before, just the impact you're having on people's lives by hiring them. You have over 40 employees, and then the empowerment that you're giving with, the teaching of new skills that are transferable.
Yeah, I think you could probably relate to this because you were an elementary school principal for so long. In my early years when I first started having employees, I would be very sad when people would leave, like abandonment kind of reactions when people would leave. And then finally, someday, I finally wrapped my brain around, this is a stepping stone job. Food jobs aren't necessarily for some people it's a career job, but for many, many people it's a stepping stone to bigger and better things. So I think when I wrap my brain around that, it's no, actually, I'm here to teach people skills and things that they will eventually move on to bigger and better things. A bunch of my employees have started their own businesses, or my cooking class coordinator just got a job at Pacific University. He's going to be doing class coordination there, and it's a big wig job that so I get to try to invest. Food can help people learn these skills and then continue to grow and become productive members of the community.
Yeah, it's a skill set trade.
Yeah, as we've grown, and you see the historical pictures of downtown, and there's Perfection Bakery on Main Street. And for years, people said, we want a bakery in downtown. And, we have several now, but the very first, leading that was you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I did, in my early years, I did many farmers markets. I did Hillsboro and Beaverton and Portland, East Side. I was in 8 different markets when I was out of my house doing that. And I just was so drawn to downtown Hillsboro. There was such a strong sense of community here, and I felt needed. I felt there was a foodie community bubbling up here, and they needed a spokesperson to set the tone. And there's been so many cool things happening in the neighborhood over the last few years. We definitely created that community.
Yeah. Well, and again, thank you. I mean, you have created such a sense of community in so many different ways. And again, as we talk about just growing and now being 110,000 people, this gives us a way to connect our farmers markets and all the ancillary, events that come from that. Kimberlyn, so you mentioned growing up in California, in a suburb of Farmington, right?
Riverbank.
Yes.
Riverbank,
Yes, that's
California.
right.
Yeah.
So, tell us about Grandma Changa's salsa, how that led, to your experiences then with Eat, Drink, Washington County and the Green Fork Initiative.
Yeah. Good memory, Steve. It's funny because now being here for over 30 years, initially coming into Hillsboro, being a transplant where you come into a community and you know no one, I leaned into the farmers market as my refuge. It gave me a reason to explore the community. And now seeing the farmers market, it's evolved so much and grown with our city and helped shape the different neighborhoods throughout our communities. I wanted to be a part of that. So I started Grandma Changa's Salsa with the highest value of what I could provide, which was my grandmother's salsa recipe. And I had all the tools I needed at the local farmers markets. Like Mindy was saying, there's very minimal barrier to entry, very low cost, permits, the ingredients are right there. And in addition to that, like Mindy was also mentioning, the mentorship is immense. When you get that one-on-one engagement and get to build those relationships, you feel like there's no such thing as a stupid question. And you grow with your community. And I wanted to be a part of that. So after selling Grandma Changa Salsa, ultimately I was able to do so because we cultivated our agricultural product into a regional brand. We sold at Whole Foods. We became New Season's private label for their salsa. We were in Oregon, Washington, and Canada. That, to me, is a rare opportunity that happened here that I now consider my hometown of Hillsboro, Oregon. That was a huge opportunity for me and my family. And once I sold Grandma Changa Salsa, I yearned more to be a part of the downtown corridor and started getting involved in volunteerism to help vitalize our downtown. And in that process, I wanted to see more representation of those collaborative relationships of what does it mean not only to be local, but to be an agricultural based product. That means sourcing your ingredients directly from the farms, knowing where your foods come from and having that direct relationship with your farmer, knowing that it's your hands processing the foods and then having that direct connection in selling. So Eat, Drink, Washington County, I founded 3 years ago through as a nonprofit, a 501c3, in efforts to connect more people through farm to fork events and initiatives on the farm. So that led me into further relationship with Eat, Drink, Washington County, with the Hillsboro Farmers Market. Together, we've created an initiative. Initially, we started out as farm to fork harvest lunches last year and moved into an actual initiative to where the Green Fork Initiative is a community-based effort to support regenerative farmers, our culinary entities who support our agricultural farmers, and our Hillsboro farmers markets. So now what we're wanting to ask people as we continue to grow the initiative is to invest in what's local through our market currency, our market programs, and the Sprouts programs for our youth, and the culinary nutrition demonstrations through What's Cooking at the farmers markets.
Great.
I'm excited that we're adding the What's Cooking back. I miss those.
Yeah. Well, so then, talking about evolving, right? Adding things back and adding things and adding a whole new farmer's market. The pandemic started about 4 years ago. And here we are 4 years later, things are different. What do you see that's different? And then looking into the future, what do you think, our farmers markets will be like?
As I said, I'm super excited that we're adding the What's Cooking back because it allows people to see the produce that is at the market, what you can do with it.
That's right.
Ideas that you may not have thought of before. I mean, the zucchini salsa that I make, I love it. We did it, I don't know, 6-7 years ago as a What's Cooking at the market, and I make it all the time, all summer long.
That's the chef booth where they cook right there at the market.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And so that I'm so glad we're adding that back. And then we're expanding our Sprouts program, the kids activities at the market. I'm really looking forward to that as well. And I think what I see is changing at the market is I think that as it has become more of a place again where people are hanging out and congregating and being together. I'm seeing a lot of, we've got so many new vendors and so many small businesses that are just they are people that found their passion during the times when we weren't together and want to share that with everybody else. Yeah. And that's super exciting and so enjoyable to be a part of.
You know, one of the silver linings, and thin silver linings, but it did give people the opportunity to reset. And it did give people that opportunity to maybe have time or, to do some things that they've yearned to do. And there was time to be, and in some ways you had to be creative if you were going to be around on the other side. And so we're seeing some evidence of that, which is exciting. And one more reason to come out to our farmers markets. Yeah, Kimberly.
Yeah, I immediately, I think of, I frequented Decadent Creations. That was when she was in the transition into collective market. I think that really
You bought toilet paper from me?
I bought toilet paper from Decadent Creations. The pandemic brought so many challenges, but also brought so many opportunities. We adapted as a community, and it forced us into meaningful collaborations with one another to really elevate local, so that we can really put a focusing on shortening the distance from production to consumption. And we really valued one another in how will we come out of this together. And this is what local means. Home is local. That is what this means.
What also happened during the pandemic is all like the Black Lives Matter, that where many people realized how culturally narrow our mindset could be. And I've seen a huge boom in like much more diversity and people bringing their authentic cultures and things to the market.
We opened up.
Yeah. Thanks. That's great. Great conversation today. Thank you. Would you all be willing to share, your websites, okay? Because people who are watching are going to want to learn more, about the Green Fork Initiative or Decadent Creations or, your nursery. So, share your websites with us and also the Farmers Market website. Yeah. As well.
I'm going to give a shout out primarily to the Hillsboro Farmers Market, with us partnering with Edgewood, Washington County, partnering with the Hillsboro Farmers Markets. They'll have a landing page that outlines the Green Fork Initiative and how community can further engage at www.hillsboromarkets.org, and they can further engage there.
Good. Hillsboromarkets.org.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't use my website much, but I am active on my Facebook page, and it's just Mountainside Herbal Nursery on Facebook, and I love to let people know what new and exciting things are coming, and it's a great way for people to interact with me too.
Yeah. Great.
You can find her on the corner of 2nd and Main every Saturday. Decadent is decadentcreations.com and collectivemarket.net are my two businesses. And you can usually find me there running around, cooking on the line, or I'm there somewhere.
And again, that's part of what makes local, markets, local food so special is that we get to know the people that are doing the work and producing it. Thank you for being here with us today. This has been great. Thank you all who are watching for being with us for this issue of Community Conversations. We invite you to come down to our Tuesday night market, to our Saturday market, the Sunday market that's at Orenco Station, and then the new market at Reed's Crossing. And remember to support local, eat local, buy local. Look for the taste of downtown Hillsboro, where there's so many different opportunities for us to, be together with each other, to enjoy each other, and to support our local economy. With that, we'll see you next time. Take care.